every chord change you play has an effect on where the song is going. And which shape or inversion you pick will affect how well those chords flow into one another. In my previous lesson, I covered the drop 2 shapes in C major, so the 7 chords in the key of C and the different drop 2 shapes you can get on the guitar. So if you've missed that, that's where I would go first. So link in the description for that. And using drop 2 voicings, inversions of the same chords, is one way to really get great flow between your chordal playing so that you make efficient movements which sound harmonically pleasing. All the tab and the notation you see on the screen is available as a PDF on my website, check the description. So I suggested a few things to practice in that last video, and today we're going to build upon that, and it goes like this. So the first thing I would do now is take the key of C, so those 7 chords in the key of C, and we're going to move up through the scale with drop 2 voicing. So we could do this, and you could do this on all string sets. That's C major 7 chord 1, D minor 7 chord 2, E minor 7 chord 3, F major 7 chord 4, G 7 chord 5, A minor 7 chord 6, B minor 7 flat 5 chord 7, back to our root. So it doubles up as working on your harmony as well, if anything. You could do the same with drop 2 voicing starting on the D string and the E string. Being systematic about this, the next thing I would do is do this with the 3rd in the bass. So let's do this with drop 2 on the D strings. So we're going to do C major 7 / E. We're going to do D minor 7 / F. And you still hear the scale going up. We're going to E minor 7 / G. We're going to do F major 7 / A, same as the first shape, G dominant 7th / B, A minor 7 / C, and then B minor 7 flat 5 / D, back to C major 7 with the 3rd and bass. So, and I'll do that again. You hear that scale going up, it's beautiful. We then take the 5th in the bass, so C major 7 / G, D minor 7 / A, you may recognise the A minor 7 shape there, E minor 7 / B, F major 7 / C, G 7 / D, and then we're at A minor 7 / E, and then we're at, this is getting high on this guitar, B minor 7 flat 5 / F, and back to C major 7 / G. Real test of the intonation on this guitar. We can then obviously do the same thing with the 7th in the bass. Now these sound a little bit more tense, but they do have a place. So this is C major 7 / B, D minor 7 / C, really easy one to play, just with a bar, E minor 7 / D, and then F major 7 / E, and then G 7 / F, A minor 7 / G, B minor 7 flat 5 / A, back to C major 7 / B. And you'll notice these chords are related to probably other chords you've learnt on guitar, like that, you know, that G7 there, it's really part of that big E7 shape bar chord. When you do that A minor 7, like that, you know, you can see that's part of your E minor 7 shape bar chord, or even an A minor, E minor shape bar chord. So to help ground these things for you, you might be able to relate them to things you already know, I suppose is what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way. 2 things you could then do to take this somewhere else is you could explore playing chord progressions, or you could explore playing songs with it. I would start simply with chord progressions first. It's obvious, but let's go with a 2-5-1 and do that first. So we're in the key of C, 2-5-1 is going to be D minor 7, G7 and C. Taking the 2-5-1 in the key of C, the notes are as follows. D minor 7 is D, F, A, C, G7 is G, B, D, F, C major 7 is C, E, G, B. Now, why are these inversions useful and how does that information relate to it? Well, how it relates to it is, say you start a D minor 7 with a D in the bass, you know, the predictable thing to do would be to go to a G7 with a G in the bass, but that's not as close as some other possibilities. You can stay on D. D is a common note between D minor 7 and G7. You could move down to a B, you could move up to an F. So we're going to explore some of these ideas about making close bass note moves and the effect that has. Played plainly in drop 2 voicings on the A string, the progression would sound like this. And one thing there, it made a massive leap up to that G7. So let's try this, first exercise. So D minor 7, root position, G7/D, C major 7 in root position. So the bass note went D, D, C. Let's hear that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. much prefer that move than what I did where I jumped up the neck and moved around way more than I need to. Now let's not start with D minor 7 in root position because we don't have to. Let's start with the third in the bass, so F. So we have this shape. So, you know, finish, you know, on an F in the bass with the next chord G7. I could go up to a G, up there with the, you know, that, or I could stay with F in the bass, or I could go down to D or B, which is a bit far. But I'm going to stay with F in the bass. So we're going to go D minor 7 slash F and then G7 slash B. So you've got that bass note remaining the same. And then, well, our next chord C, the closest note is E. So C major 7 slash E, sounding like that. So that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then 1, 2, 3, 4. Very different to. It's not as easy to play as quickly though. Now the last two examples, I should point out that some of the interesting stuff happens in the bass, some of it happens on the top. So it's as interesting for me, both. So this next one we're going to do D minor 7 slash A, so this, which has got this A in the bass and C on the top. Then we're going to go to G7 in root position, which moves the top note down to a B and the bass note down to a G. So it goes da da on the bottom, on the top it goes da da. So we get. Then we need C major 7. We can go to C major 7 slash G, so we can keep our bass note. And we can keep the B on top. So you get, on the top in the bass you get, which is cool. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is before we start, you know, you could do nice things at the end like go. Stuff like that, which we'll get on to. Let's do it with the 7th in the bass on the D minor 7, so a C. So we've got this up here. Then the nearest note of a G7 is a B, a semitone beneath. Then the nearest note of a C major 7, we're already on it, it's a B in the bass. Just like that. So that gave us 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So hopefully you can hear these are much more interesting than that plain vanilla way that I played the 251 a minute ago. It's not to say that that's not valid, that's still something you want to be able to do, and some of these would be, you know, to have to use them carefully. Like if you're putting the 7th in the bass and you're the rhythm guitar player and there's a bass player, they might look at you and like, what are you doing? I mean, those kind of chords can be a bit too much with the 7th in the bass sometimes. So you might use these in chord melody or intros or sustained over the top of stuff. So it's not like the main rhythmic thing, but it really just depends on context. So just always bear that in mind. Use your ears to how what you're playing fits in with the other musicians you're playing. Now there we were kind of just sticking in boxes like these are D minor 7 things, these are G7 things, these are C things, but we're in the key here and these 3 chords are in key and all the other chords can be used as other sounds to bring in to move between chords. So my next 2 exercises do that very thing. So what you can do here is you can use the other chords in key to go between chords. Take D minor 7 to G7. Between those 2 chords, you've got chords 3 and 4, which is E minor and F major 7. So you could go like D minor, E minor, F major 7, G. And I did something similar on the way back down. So you probably heard that sort of before and wondered, what are those passing chords they're doing? They could be more outside sounding or kind of tension, but it's best to learn inside stuff first. So here's an example. I'm using those sort of passing chords from the key and putting the odd single note in as well. So let's break that down bar by bar. First bar is a D minor 7 working its way to a G7, so a bar of D minor 7. So what I'm doing here is D minor 7 slash F, D minor 7 slash A, D minor 7 slash C, so just moving up through the inversions. Then I put an E on the top, the 9th, a note from the key of C. You can always add notes to these chords. That shape is right for it because it's just a bar flat finger. So inversions of D minor 7, add the 9th to the top for interest, and G7 slash B. Passing note C, so we get da 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 on the top, down to G7 in root position, up to a D, then I'm going to go E minor 7, A minor 7, so 2 chords in key, then C major 7 slash G, an A, a note from the key, and finishing on C major 7 slash E. So you can either move through inversions of the same chord, maybe add in some odd scale notes to make interest. You can add them to the top or the bottom as bass passing notes or notes on the top, like a melody. Or you can bring in other chords in key, which, you know, eventually you can bring outside chords as well. But so that's a pretty cool way to sort of start to create nice musical ideas for accompaniment or chord melody with these shapes. And my final example for today sounds like this. So in that example, on the D minor and D minor up to the next chord in the key, E minor 7, then I went D minor slash F, D minor slash A, and then G7 root position back to D minor slash F, E minor 7, D minor 7, then C major 7, G7 slash B, D minor 7, C. So you get this movement. And you hear the notes on the top as well. So there's some exercises there you could practice, and this is just all about getting these shapes down on the guitar, being able to organise them up here. That's really important. Don't just play these shapes just thinking of them as shapes. You need to know the intervals and the notes. Take your time with it, and then you can start to try and play other chord progressions or parts of songs is how I'd take it. Find a song with a 2-5-1 and emphasis, you know, things like Fly Me to the Moon or something would be a good one, and try and see how you can use these chords to create flow. And that's the thing, you know, when I played that 2-5-1 earlier and I was moving like that, I know I could go like that too, but it's still quite a big move, and I think quite often, you know, that works fine, but you might want something more interesting sometimes, particularly if you're interested in chord melody playing. These shapes really open up the guitar fretboard, and kind of seeing how these chords go up the neck is so cool, and it kind of helps you kind of understand some of those things you've been hearing and seeing people do on the neck, and like, oh, what shapes are they using there, and how, you know, why are they working? And quite often it's drop voicings, and it's because the notes are in key in terms of other chords they're playing, and kind of creating these movements on top of chords, because D minor 7, G7, C major 7 is a very kind of static thing. It just moves along nicely, but you can put movements on top of that which make the movements of the 2-5-1 itself more interesting. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Jazz guitar lessons every Wednesday and Saturday if you're new here. My name's Andy. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hit that like button if you've gained value from today, and don't forget to grab the tab and notation from my website. Link in the description, and see you next time.